Why did you have to do that? Don't talk to him, Rudeus! So, hello everyone, Mono here. I'm gonna talk about some of Mushoku Tensei, this episode, right? Called the best anime ever. And I wanna break down some of this conflict I see between people defending our episode about Rudeus, right? And because objectively, he did provoke Orsted. Objectively, he did something wrong, right? And that doesn't mean he deserves to die. Doesn't mean he deserves to almost die or whatever. I'm not saying that, right? So let's break it down. The episode of Mushoku Tensei and the action of Rudeus and the right things about. So okay, first of all, again, just really point out here. It doesn't mean that he, deserves what happens to him or his friends, right? It's like the punishment doesn't fit the crime, right? So that is immediately. Secondly, this is not a critique on the author. If anything, I think the writing here is brilliant as always, because this is like, yeah, Rudeus has no social skills. Of course he's gonna do stupid stuff in social situation. That is the character, that is the main character, right? Because I've seen people try to defend this scene, so to speak, which is not really like an actual defense, because people like me are saying that, oh, he clearly shouldn't have provoked him, right? Like that was kind of dumb. People are like, well, I mean, what else would happen? Like, that would be in storytelling. It's like, that's not a defense. Saying that the author wanted it to happen, I mean, it's not a defense. Yeah, the author is writing a great storytelling. It fits the character. I'm just saying that, the character should, whatever, right? It doesn't make sense to me. It's not a critique on the author, like, it's not a critique on the author, or the storytelling in general. But what we're talking about here then is, of course, that Rudeus is on the wrong, right, and Rudeus clearly pissed off Orsted for no reason. Like, he didn't have to do it. Of course, people can say, no, he had a reason, he wanted to know stuff. Yeah, but I say for no reason, I mean, like, you don't have to, engage into a new enemy, right? Or like a potential enemy. You don't have to create an enemy if you don't have to, right? For example, mentioning man, like, why? But anyway, first of all, I was talking about this general context matters, right? So if you're out in real life, and I don't want to say this thing here, I don't want to insult people, but I do find myself being kind of perplexed by some people defending Rudeus in this weird way, where I feel like, no, he was just polite, talk to him. Like, yeah, and that doesn't matter in reality. You can go out and be very polite to your local, kind of bad guy, so to speak, and he's still gonna shoot you. I mean, it's like, it doesn't matter. That's not how reality works. It should work in a magical world where this guy is like some kind of super powerful guy, and he just definitely noticed that. I'll talk about it more later. But generally speaking, I'm talking about Earth here, right? I used to live in one of the worst neighborhoods in Gothenburg, or not worst, but kind of like very bad and very close, like a 20 or so minutes walk to the worst neighborhood in Gothenburg, and arguably the worst neighborhood in the whole of Sweden, like probably the whole of Sweden. And in that neighborhood, right, if I talk to a random guy standing in the corner, I might get killed, yeah. Like, even if I'm polite, right? Doesn't matter, right? Because it's an incredibly bad neighborhood. So a little bit, honestly, I'm perplexed to see people defend this scene so strongly for Rudeus. It's like, but like, you can't just like, you have to understand that some people you don't talk to in reality also. This is not the right situation to talk about. I was an incident a few years ago, not in this city, but in another country, where me and a friend, we walked into like a illegal crime. I want too much details here. We saw something, and I knew immediately we have to leave, because if they see that we saw them, right, they're gonna kill us, right? So we had to run away from there. We got an altercation with another a long story. I don't want to get details here. But my point, of course, is that if I went up to these guys doing this crime, and I was like, oh, guys, I see you're, hello, yeah, great weather tonight. So, yeah, they would have killed me, right? It doesn't matter if I'm being polite or not. You have to read the room and understand the social context that is happening in a given situation. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, whereas, light is going to turn dark in your face, right? And for example, so that day for me was probably the closest time I had to dying in my life. The second closest time after dying is probably the time I got this huge scar. You can't really see it anymore because I got it when I was quite young, but my chin was cut up right here. You can't really see it, it was under my beard, and it was quite young. But I used to have like a scar going over here, like a half a Glasgow smile. I still have it, but it's kind of like hard to see now, but it was very, very obvious. Same thing there, right? Bad time, bad situation, could really be polite to the person, right? So again, I don't talk too much detail here, but I hope you understand my point here, that I feel a little bit like, if you're gonna defend Rudeus here, like, haven't you never been in a bad neighborhood in your own life? Have you never been in an altercation in your reality or something? So that's one thing, right? It's like, it's like, of course, you can't talk to a guy that looks super dangerous. However, that being said, though, there's a lot of other parts to this storyline, right, that makes Rudeus be wrong. And also, I find this thing really weak in defense of Rudeus, and that's a curse thing, right? Some people are like, no, but he can't feel the curse, so how could he know he's dangerous? Like, can you see his friends? They're like, oh shit, this guy is dangerous right now. They are having like a freaking mental breakdown almost, right? They're like standing there frozen in fear. He clearly sees that. He clearly is commenting on it, like, hey, you guys okay? Yet he doesn't care about that, right? Again, I'm not saying that it's a bad writing. I think it's good writing, because it fits Rudeus to be kind of a social inept, right? But just because you're social inept doesn't mean you can't do anything wrong. Yeah. The way I look at it is kind of like, what if you committed a crime, but you don't know that this is illegal, right? You don't know if it's legal. It's still a crime. Some people definitely argue for that in some defenses in courts. That they're like, but I didn't know it was illegal to do this. It's still illegal, right? You can't do something just because you don't know it, right? I mean, you can still actually do something bad, right? Even if you don't understand it's bad or whatever. Or for that matter, you could also argue that anyone that has, for example, then zero empathy, right? Otherwise, you could argue that like a sociopath, like a 100% sociopath, can't commit crime otherwise because they can't understand that they are hurting people and so on. Yeah. Otherwise, you could argue for that, right? There's of course a difference between maybe you put them in, some kind of mental hospital or maybe in jail, right, and prison and so on. But again, right, it's still like a bad thing to like kill someone even if you don't understand that doing it is bad, right? And this is kind of here where I feel the whole curse defense for Rudeus is just objectively wrong. You can't say that just because he couldn't feel the curse, he couldn't understand that this guy was dangerous. It's like, but you can clearly see his friends are super afraid of him, right? And also, furthermore, this here is very fair to point out too, right? We all know about animals, the texting instinct and so on, right? Rudeus should also picked up that, wait, this like bull jumped off the cliff. He was so afraid, he jumped off the cliff. That should tell him something. That should tell Rudeus that, okay, maybe I shouldn't talk to this guy. Maybe he's one of those bad people in the neighborhood. Yeah, maybe he's one of those guys. I'm just saying, this bull took the chances of jumping off the cliff instead of staying. That's how afraid he was of this guy, right? That should tell Rudeus volumes of like, do not talk to this person. And don't forget this thing, right? If you completely disregard that Rudeus shouldn't like pick up social cues that's happening around him, if you ignore that, you still have Rudeus telling him, don't move a musket. Okay, you still have him like, don't do anything, man. So of course he's wrong here. Like his friend is like, don't do anything, man. Like, please don't do anything. And he's like, hey man, you want to hear about this God guy I know? It's like, no, don't do anything, Rudeus. Of course he's at fault here. Again, doesn't mean that Rudeus deserves to get killed or whatever, right? But he's clearly doing a mistake here, and also he's clearly ignorant, right, for his friends and both their emotions, but also their judgment and their tips and tricks, right? Yeah, don't talk to this guy. Yes, does that, right? So it's both he ignores his friends on an emotional level, right? He ignores them on like body language and stuff, and also he ignores his friends on just general like, here's an advice for you. And so it's both logically bad and emotionally bad, right? Again, doesn't mean that Rudeus is a bad written character. I really understand people saying that this is like a critique on the author saying that Rudeus is an idiot or whatever. We know he's an idiot, yeah. Like, and of course that's the storyline progress, right? This is not a critique on the actual storyline. I'm just saying that Rudeus is objectively wrong or something. And of course, Rudeus is provoking Orsted by saying, "Excuse me." And this is what I meant earlier, right? Because if you go up to your local kind of market guy, in your local neighborhood or whatever, and you're like, hello sir, how's your day doing? Yeah, they are still gonna be pissed off at you. It doesn't matter if you're polite to them. Context really matters, right? This is something that's very, very important for general social situations, right? You can't just go up to talk to a random person on the street. And I would say honestly here, right? When I'm out walking or whatever, if someone comes up to me and it's like, excuse me, right? I'm like, what do you want? Yeah, that is a provocation, because I am immediately like, I'm not like paranoid, right? But if a random person talks to me, and I'll be like, what do you want? Yeah, like that's just common sense. I'm gonna be like, wait, who are you, right? It's also like a weird thing. And this guy here, right? He's very, very dangerous. You should know that. He's leaving. He's about to leave. He's like, excuse us, we're gonna leave, right? Yeah. He's like, okay, I'm out of here. Rudeus is like, please wait. And of course, no! And they get like, don't talk to him, Rudeus. Yeah. Of course, this is a provocation. Not just is it him completely ignoring his friends, talked about earlier. He's also provoking this person. He's provoking him, right? He wants to leave, right? If any person is trying to leave, it's trying to disengage from you, no matter what is happening, you are doing a provocation. It doesn't matter if it's like, if you're nice to them. It doesn't matter if you're polite, right? It doesn't matter how you do it, but stopping someone from disengaging from you is always a provocation. Because you could argue, how much of provocation is it like a 10 out of 10 provocation? Is it like 1 out of 10? It's obviously not a 10 out of 10. I mean, he's obviously not like, he doesn't attack him from the back, he doesn't ambush him, right? It's obviously not like a 10 out of 10, attack against Orsted. It clearly isn't. So I'm not saying that, right? But what I'm saying is that this is definitely a minor, like, oh, you're trying to leave? Now I'm gonna prevent you from leaving, right? And that is obviously always, objectively speaking, gonna be, it is a minor provocation, a minor engagement, because he's trying to disengage from Rudeus. He's trying to leave them, right? He's like, I'm sorry, I will talk to you guys, I'm gonna go away from here. And Rudeus, comes back at him, right? It's like, hey, I want to talk to you, yeah. And some people, of course, are gonna say, defend you, say, no, but he was intrigued, or he wanted to talk to him, and so on. Yeah, and? That's not a defense for it. That's just a motivational reasoning why he wants to talk to Orsted. That's obvious. Of course, he's like, oh, this guy knows about the future and time traveling or alternate realities or whatever. Yeah, I will talk to him too. He's an interesting guy, right? But just because you're into someone doesn't mean you can just talk to them, right? It's the same thing. Go to, but go to like a place where you can spot maybe like an oil bill and Yakuza leader or whatever, and you're like, oh, that guy is so interesting. I will talk to him, you know what I mean? Maybe you shouldn't, right? If you go, for example, if you go to like Stockholm, right, you can meet the king, you can meet Sweden as a king, you can go and see the monarch, right? He's walking on the street with his guards, and you're like, wow, the king is interesting, I'm gonna talk to him. You see my point here? Of course you can be intrigued, I wanna talk to the king, right? That's a cool guy, yeah. But can you just go up and talk to him? I mean, you can try, but I think people see my point here, is because you want to do something, doesn't mean you should do it, right? Like, it's a little bit like, yeah, okay. Again though, put it again here. Does it mean, because people are very much like, oh, you're critiquing the art or whatever, we say that, like, no, we're not, right? This makes sense that Rudeus does stuff. The writing here is excellent. The writing, I mean, I love it. My favorite anime is here, right? Best animes, best isekai ever. And the writing in perfect sense. Because like Rudeus is a social, inept person. So he's the guy there, oh, the king, I love him, yeah. That is kind of how Rudeus is, right? So it makes sense. But it doesn't mean he wasn't doing it wrong. It doesn't mean that he shouldn't have done it. Of course, given that his friends are paralyzed in fear and so on, and told him to do it and everything, right? And also, of course, lastly, he also burst out that, oh, actually, I know this man god guy. That actually was a complete mistake. I think that, honestly, I would say that thing was just kind of blatantly stupid and a little shoehorned in, honestly, in my opinion, because, I mean, earlier Rudeus has thought about it, right? Like, oh, I probably shouldn't mention to people that are talking to God in my dreams. He's been reflecting over that in the previous part of the anime, or in the previous part of the story, I mean. And then generally, we should do that. He just blurted out, oh yeah, I know this God guy in my dreams. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. So, that would be my actual only critique. I can feel it is shoehorned. But again, obviously I take from Rudeus. That's really, of course, triggered Orsted. That's a real trigger of it. That's a major provocation, right? Earlier provocation is he's preventing him from leaving. Earlier is a minor provocation. And then we got the big provocation, right? Talking about man god. And he shouldn't do either, right? He shouldn't stop a guy that's very, very dangerous. They told him to talk to him. Shouldn't stop him, right? Shouldn't talk to this guy. Context matters. And then, of course, also, he knows he shouldn't be talking about this god he knows. That's a very big mistake, right? From a general strategy aspect. And also for that, man, Rude also is just kind of weird, right? In this situation. He's just like, hey, man, can you talk to me about this? That's kind of strange, right? Again, if you go up on the street, talk to a random guy, like, oh, can you tell me what this thing is? It's just kind of weird. Doesn't matter if you're polite to anyone. You shouldn't just blurp out at the people, but like, please, give me information, right? Prying them for information. That's a provocation. And then also telling them something very, very, like, huge secret, also kind of weird. So it's like mistakes and all over the place, right? But guys, that's the video. Rudeus is clearly wrong. He clearly provoked Orsted. Doesn't mean he should die or whatever for it. but like his social skills are clearly lacking, right? It's consistent with the writing, so the writing is correct here. But again, Rudeus is clearly does a big mistake here, and he, obviously pissed the guy off, and he didn't have to do that. He could just not done it. He could just work better. But anyway, guys, subscribe, slap button, and I'll see you guys and have a great day.